Prasad channel. We are very happy and fortunate to have legendary Guru Smt Chitra Visweswaran with us. Namaskaram Akka.
Namaskaram, Divya.
After all these years of glory and the heights you have attained, with life moving forward at such a fast pace, will you ever look back the path you travel sometimes? Please speak about the highs and lows of your journey with your art.
Yes, today life has become very fast. And sometimes I wonder, what are we running for? Why do we no longer have the time to stop, to think, to reflect, to visit, to revisit? Because that is how the general scene is and has been. But I must say one thing. I am a person who constantly looks backward, not because I only want to live in the past, but I feel there have been so many lessons I have learned along the way. I have imbibed so much richness from the art and culture around us that I can still learn from the past. And it is not as though our productions that we once did are once and for all done with. I think as we experience life, even as we learn more and more through our experiences and interactions and collaborations, when we look back, we must revisit our work. These experiences can enrich our work. We must reflect, we must revisit, because after all, we are no longer the same person. We have evolved. And the way I looked at something, say, 40 years ago, will definitely not be the way I look at it now. I'm not just talking about a physical approach, but I'm talking about our evolution as human beings and the evolution of the soul. So, I'll give you a little example. For instance, way back in 1990, I was commissioned by the National Institute of Sciences to do a production on the river Ganga. Okay. We called it Akshayadhara, and it was such an enriching experience for me because my husband and I not just went and sat with philosophers, spiritual guides, gurus, but we sat with historians, scientists, literateurs, so that we learned and imbibed so much of what happened along the banks of the Ganga in the past and continued to be a source of inspiration. So at that time I was so inspired and excited. How did I look at the Ganga then? I looked at it from the point of view of spirituality, her descending from the Gangotri, and the interlocking of science with our, I do not use the word myth, because it's not myth, with the narrative of the Gangavatarana. Then, when you think of it scientifically, the matted locks of Shiva are actually the catchment areas of the Himalayas. And if the Ganga had plunged down, she would have, and there were no catchment areas to hold her and bring her down to earth, she would have plunged down. So it was very interesting to look at that comparison at that point of time. So I looked at Ganga and spirituality. Then I went along in Ganga and literature, the description of Kalidas and how, he says there are the areas full of gems and minerals. So it sparkles red. So all these things were very interesting to the younger mind, and how Guhan in Guha, he's Kevat in Tulsidas. So he's taking Rama and Lakshmana and Sita across the Ganga, and how in that you find in verses how strong an agricultural community we were. We were river-based, how the rivers were worshipped. Then you go down, you go to Allahabad, then you think of Ganga and geography when you go to, and biology when you go to the Sundarbans, the entire flora and fauna of that area. Then you go to Patna, Pataliputra, and you think of, yes, Ashoka and Buddhism. You go to Varanasi, and that is our rice bowl. Varanasi, and that is our rice bowl of the country. Then you go, finally you come to the Ganga Sagar, and how Ganga splits herself into so many estuaries and reaches the ocean. So for me it was very interesting to study the Ganga in relationship to spirituality, to literature, to geography, to history, to botany, at all subjects. That is how I looked at it in 1990. I revisited it in 2000. My entire attitude to life had changed. I had gone through so much in those 10 years, experienced so much, imbibed so much, that to me, when I revisited it, it became the journey of a soul on earth. How when we come into when we are born, we are young, we are sprightly, we are full of life. Like the Ganga is in the Himalayas. And young, and then you flow on, and as you grow older, you are awakened to spirituality. At a young age, you just awaken. And Jyotirmat was symbolic of that. And you go down, you learn, you imbibe, you imbibe the richness and the culture and knowledge as you go on. Allahabad is the seat of learning. And then you come to Varanasi. Till then you imbibe, you enrich yourself, then you learn to give like the Ganga. So then you learn to give and you flow on. You give as you go, as the Ganga gives of herself selflessly. And then when you go in the Sundarbans, the river is full of slush. It is very slow. It is symbolic of our lives. That's we slow down as age catches on. And there is physically, you're no longer like the Ganga in the Himalayas. Then you slow down. And as you slow down, you reflect, you think back. And then you finally reach the Sagara. And then it dawns on you that this is the purpose of this Janma. You come from somewhere as a youngster, then you imbibe, and then you learn to give, and then finally you slow down physically, and then when the Sagara, which is the ultimate Godhead, is in front of you, you realize that you are born to become one with that ultimate. So you see, yes, you learn so much. There are so many, and I think when you ask me about what are my highs and lows, I think every production and every phase in my life has had highs and lows, but I don't look at them as highs and lows, because if you look at something as a low, you can get discouraged, and you realize that probably that low has come into either your physical life or into your emotional life or into your artistic life or creative life. There's a purpose for it. That may be to awaken you to a greater truth. And it may be to widen your perspective. It may also be there for you to stop stop and reflect on your work and say, what direction next? Because it's so easy, because you're rushing. The lows are the speed breakers, which make us reflect.
Sure.
The highs are wonderful. Every moment of dancing is a high to me. Because I always say, you don't need anything if you're a dancer or a musician. That takes you to that height. And then sometimes that high is absolute spiritual sublimation, is in a handshake with the divine. So, there are highs, there are lows, there are moments, maybe, I always find in different situations, different moments come to my mind. So it all depends upon what I am in, what state I am at that point in time.
Wonderful. Do you remember your first ever performance, Akka? What was your feeling when you were on the stage for the first time?
Well, like all of us do, even before we go on to the stage for Arangetram or full performances, I used to do these small, tiny little pieces in the school day and annual day functions. What was different in my case was that it was in England. Because my father was posted there at that time, and my mother, fearing that I may not develop any interest in Natyam, as in Bharatiya Natyam, she would teach me small pieces. She was trained in the Uday Shankar School of Dance and Rabindra Nritya, and used to come to Chennai and Naidu to learn Abhinaya pieces. They lived in Delhi, my grandparents and my mother. So, I used to learn these small dances and I used to be part of all the school functions and everything. And when we came back to India, I was always, I'll say, in demand. Because I was one of the few railway kids who was dancing and performing, who was in this rather. So, for any railway function, I used to be asked to dance. But even before all this happened, I remember one day, we had come back from India, we had come back to our country, Bharatvarsha, and we were, till then we had been in the UK. When we came back, I remember we went to Trichy to visit my grandmother. And Trichy Seva Sadan was started by my grandmother, so Amma's maternal grandmother. So when he said, oh, this kid has come and she is set to dance well, it would be nice if she performed. So there was this big board with saying Baby Chitra dances. I still remember I was wearing a silver grey satin pavade with little chunkies. Very elegant, not jinjang chunkies, not plain, but very elegant. And it was one of my favorite dresses. And so I was there, but all the faces I saw were unfamiliar. It wasn't like in England where I danced where people I knew were there, my classmates, school teachers. So I looked around and I started crying and I refused to dance. So in India, my first experience at the age of 7, I refused to go on stage. So when my first guru, Smt Divyasena, Tiruvadai Malgur, that is Kuppaya Pilay's Prathama Shishya, when we went to Calcutta, I started learning Manipuri and Kathak and Rabindra Nritya, but when my mother came to know that there is this Devadasi teacher over there, she approached her and my dance classes started. My Bharatanatyam classes started when I was 10. So when I was barely 11, my teacher told my parents we can do her Arangetram. Because totally the upside. Normally parents say we want to do the Arangetram here. The teacher said we must do her Arangetram. So my father said, suppose she behaves like she did in Trichy. I will arrange everything and All my colleagues will come, our friends will be there, and this girl will suddenly say, I won't dance, how can I take the risk? And we have never seen her dancing. I have never seen her dancing. She should be up to the mark. And my mother intervened and she said, no, she is doing well. See, why this question arose was also, one is the past. Second is, how I used to practice was, teacher used to come home. Used to shut all the windows and all the doors. And in the keyhole I put a key so that people should not peep and watch me dance.
Oh my God.
I used to be such a shy kid. I wouldn't want anybody to watch me dance. So my father naturally was apprehensive. Suppose I shut all the doors in the hall and say no one should come in. So then my mother said, no, I think she will do it, and between teacher and myself we'll work on her. So actually my Arangetra happened 10 months after I started Bharatanatyam classes with teacher. And those days, it's very interesting, you asked me of memories of that time. We never had tailors there. We never had, couldn't get Kanjipuram saris and all in Kolkata. So my father, being in the railways, had come down to Chennai, then Madras. Then with my cousin went and picked up costume, sari and jewelry. And the now Alex Ranjana, his uncle, Chellampillai, he used to come and take our measurements and stitch costumes. So he stitched it. Kanakambaram was flown for my Arangetram. Leela Mami, Mrs. Leela Shekhar, brought the flowers. She was in Calcutta then, my mother's friend. Wow. And she brought Kanakambaram for me to wear on the real flowers. So I still remember my engagement had took place in Ravindra Sarovar Hall. And of course, we all, even now, after so many years, you will agree, Divyasena, you're a dancer. You have butterflies in your stomach before you go. Yes. However many years you perform. So those butterflies started fluttering. But once the music started, the prayer, a peace descended on me. And since then I never looked back. The stage is my natural habitat.
Oh, very nice. No path is smooth and no journey is easy. When we talk about rough path a person has travelled, there would have been so many hardships and situations which could have proved challenging. What was it that hit you the hardest, and how did you fight back?
In Tamil we have a beautiful saying, Veetukku Veedu Vaashapadi. And in English it is, every person has a cross to bear. It's not as though one person who is undergoing a hardship is unique in any way. It is a karma and we have to live through it. But sometimes when you are hit by something when you are very young, it is sometimes difficult to handle it. It can take you in any way, and that is where you must have the proper guidance from parents. And if you have a spiritual guru, your teachers, and that makes it easier to face and, I would not even say fight back, but I would say confront a situation and handle it. Here there is something, I gave you an answer to part of this question earlier in one of the answers, but here I would like to very specifically speak of one incident which shook see, when I was young and I started off on dancing, and like all our families, especially those of us who were away from our birthplace and our state, we had lessons in Carnatic music besides Rabindra Sangeet. Then I used to, my mother was an amateur dramatist. I used to be a part of Calcutta Amateur Dramatists and theatre is very evolved in Calcutta. Then I used to paint, I used to write poetry. I used to take part in elocution contests and poetry recitation. I had a person who was gifted in one artistic genre is usually fairly good in other forms also. But at some time you need to pick what is going to be your focus. So at that time, I was sort of enriched by my parents being very open-minded, and I had experience in all these genres. What is very important is, my mother discovered, she told me later in life, you were a good singer, you were a good painter, you wrote well, but you acted well, but I always felt you would be a good of everything, but you would be an outstanding dancer. So I think that really helped me. Now why I say this is, every day when I used to dance, she used to say, dance not for me, dance not for fame, dance is but a prayer. You see, I didn't quite realize at that time when I was a child. This used to seep into me slowly, but I was a kid. And I had a younger brother, just 2.25 years younger than me. So, I didn't realize the import of this until I was much older. This boy was born normal, and at the age of 3 he got an attack of brain polio in England, and he lost his speech and mental retardation automatically set in. And slowly the problems of adolescence. So when I was younger, he was a very handsome boy, and I was brought up to handle him and to interact with him as I would if he had been quote unquote normal. Right? He is not different. It's just, I was taught to accept him as he is and to love him for what he was. But when all this, he used the adolescent problems and everything, even those my mother taught me how to handle, even though I was only 2.25 years older than him. But at one moment, an awakening happened. This is my teens, later teens, when one day, I used to keep thinking about everything, and one day I used to till then sit at prayer and say, Swami, please give my brother speech. Swami, please make him talk to me. Those were the stages I went to. One day it dawned that he may sick, that he may never interact with me the way he would have if he had his speech and everything in place. I think he's in a superior place. It's just that it takes time to understand all that. So that was a moment that really jolted me, because that was when I realized that Arun is Arun. And it was then dance is but prayer. My mother's words gave me the strength, and I clung to dance and music, and that gave me the strength and joy which helped me, I would say, come to terms with this situation. Why I bring in Arun here is, Arun is a Rasa baby. He belongs to Rasa. He belongs to the Rasa family because the poor boy went through so many trials and tribulations along the way. And finally, it was my Guru, Mataji Vittama, my Guru, Mataji Vittama, who brought him peace. His temper tantrums were reduced. All the hate in him turned to love. And he was in the Institute of Mental Health. And because there was no other way to handle his violence, she was the cause, the karta and the act of bringing him out of the Institute of Mental Health. Now he came out, but what to do? So I took him to Rasa. I took him to Ambika. I still remember that interview where we both sat on the floor and did row your boat gently down the stream holding each other, because we were showing Ambika what he was capable of and what he was interested in. And what is so interesting is the theatre arts and crafts are used by Rasa for giving a new lease of life, for empowering the children and adults in Rasa. It is an exceptionally great work that is being done, because for a long time, all these years of dancing, for me, dance was a prayer. I would perform, I would travel the world over. The highs I went into were inexplicable. But certain things which we all as human beings take for granted, there are some who do not have it. And what happened, I remember once, was Arun was constantly visiting the bathroom. So I called Ambika and said, what has happened to him? Why is he constantly visiting the bathroom? Is he ill? She said, no, do you have a big mirror? I said, yes. She said, he's practicing Abhinaya. Now you and I practice Abhinaya to perform on stage. But when Arun was taught Abhinaya and made to practice, I realized the next day that he hates Pongal. And slowly I came to understand he doesn't like this food, he likes this, he enjoys this. The emotions on his face, which Rasa has done.
Wow.
So with the blessings of my Guru and with the great work of Ambika and Rasa, this child, to me he's still a child. This child who hated the world and who used to attack me so much because there must have been sibling jealousy. This child has become such an epitome of love. Parapaksham, no difference. There is nobody high, nobody low. He will kiss a baby, he will kiss a grandpa. He will embrace all. And that love that flows out of him is so selfless. So I think I am blessed as my brother.